West Side Jeff in for Chris Crock tonight. Chris is filling in for Casey this week, and you got me at night. You can hit me up across social media at West Side Jeff on Facebook, on X, and on Insta. Or just pick up a phone and dial 800-288-9227. Garrett will take your call, and you and I will get a chance to talk. I talked about the story today about lunchtime. I saw a breaking news alert on our app, WBAP app. If you don't have it, I'd encourage you to go into your app store and search WBAP and download it, because you get breaking news notifications as news happens. And you can also use it as a listen live tool. You can just click on listen live and take it anytime, anywhere, and listen to the station across the app. And saw a story about what happened in Wisconsin with the school shooting. And I purposely didn't bring the topic up to anybody I interacted with. Probably 20 to 30 people in my building, another 10 to 20 or so I interacted with after the news hit, and not one person mentioned it to me today. Not one, which really surprised me. And I think that's very telling of the environment and the times that we live in. Is it because we're a week out of Christmas? I don't think so. I think it's just we've gotten to the point in this country where it's another school shooting, and it's, you look at it and say, oh, okay, well, I'm sorry for that, but it doesn't impact me. So I went across social media and saw many different posts in the across North Texas, and one post I saw on one media site was a person that said, the price of freedom is the occasional dead school children. And I thought that was pretty harsh, pretty crass, it stuck with me all day, that post. But I got to ask you, how does that make you feel? Is that person correct or not correct? And what's your perspective on that? We took a call a few minutes ago from Mike from Dallas. He talked a lot about his thoughts and how this makes him feel. And one of the things he said, as he was just kind of rambling on, was, and I don't mean rambling in a bad way, he was rambling on, and this sentence came out of his mouth. He said, schools are about making money. It's about follow the money. He said, children getting shot doesn't make the schools money. And I think those two comments kind of go together. And I got to ask you, in your day-to-day life today, what was the perspective you come across with the fact that there was a school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin at a Christian school? My name is Jeff. It's West Side Jeff. Garrett is my producer at 800-288-9227. Another comment I saw online came from North Texas, is a woman that said, you know what, arm our teachers. Allow them to carry, like Keller ISD has. So what's your perspective on this? My name's Jeff, Westside Jeff, in for Chris Crock. Let's talk to Graydon from Keller. Graydon, thanks for listening. You're on the Chris Crock Show, and I'm Westside Jeff. Thanks for calling.
Hey, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. My ex-wife and my niece that I raised from the time she was a child goes to a Christian school in Madison, Wisconsin. So when I first heard this story, the first thing I did was Google my brother-in-law and some family members, texted them and made sure that she wasn't involved in this. And I don't know where the solution lies. I drive trucks for a living. That's what I've done. I haul around musicians and tour buses sometimes. And I will say this, like I heard y'all talking about the tickets. Keith Urban is one of the best guitar players that you'll ever see, and a kind, cool cat, just indirectly. But
good to hear. I got to tell you, I bet Keith Urban doesn't do a concert. He puts on a party.
Yeah, he's super cool. I've hauled all kinds of people around and buses. And I've driven all over the country, and unfortunately, when you're driving trucks, usually the places that you have to hang out, it's not like it's always the bad side of town.
Yeah.
And like I was at a Walmart delivering in Philadelphia when all the stuff was going on with Floyd Mayweather and stuff, and I spent the night there, delivered in the morning, drove back to the yard there in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, and that night I saw on the television how a riot had broken out. And another time, I mean, like luckily I wasn't there. And another time I was I flew up to Minneapolis to go collect my sister's cats, which kind of sounds ridiculous. She flew me in and got me a rent car and stuff, but it was the night after they had the riots where they broke into that police station.
Sure.
And she had a real nice condo there. She was working for a big financial provider. But anyhow, what had happened is like literally all the riots happened
real close to her, and you wanted to help be there for safety and security. Graydon, what's your perspective on these school shootings? Is there a solution?
Golly, I'll say this. I mean, like, I think it could come from a couple different angles, Jeff. Like, I think what happens is when we talk about it or broadcast it like we do, it might give motivation to other people to want to, like, copycat or, hey, I'm going to do this.
I hear
you. I mean, if you check out
glorifying
history, yeah, well, if you check out history, I mean, before social media and stuff, but I mean, that's part of the problem is the more that it's broadcasted. And I mean, I understand you're broadcasting right now, so I don't want to belittle that by any means. But I think that, like, the more, like, if you put something out there, there's always been, like, crazy weirdos all over. Janine Jones, a baby killer, all kinds of crazy things. The guys that would pick up hitchhikers and make them little keychains out there in Kerrville that hang out in the state hospital now. But, like, I think that the more that it's broadcasted, it gives kids, and then kids now, I think, have a lot more of an ego and, like, a sense of wanting to be seen or known or, like, become famous, for whatever it is,
I hear you.
And
Graydon, I appreciate you calling. I appreciate you being a part of the show tonight. Thank you for calling. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I got to move on. But all I can think about as you're talking about what you're talking about is when I went to high school, born and raised up in the state of Ohio. I was Columbus, Ohio, and on the west side of Columbus, in a rougher neighborhood. Hell, when I went to high school, a lot of kids had pickup trucks, old beat-up pickup trucks. I can't tell you how many times I saw old beat-up pickup trucks sitting out in the parking lot, in the student parking lot, with a gun rack in it and a rifle in it. And the windows are down, and the thing was unlocked. Guns were not used in schools, but they are today. And it amazes me that nobody was really talking about the story today, and caught me a little off guard. And had to throw it out there and ask you, why do you think that is? Have we become numb to it? It's interesting, again, the post that I saw earlier from a person that kind of was sandpapery, it didn't sit well with me, is the price of freedom is the occasional dead school children. Is that wrong? Is it not? My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, sitting in for Chris Crock. Be back in 3 minutes here on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Weird that today I mentioned that big story today is the school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin at a Christian school. The latest on that is a teacher was killed, a student was killed, and supposedly the authorities are saying at this point that the shooter was also killed. And the AP is reporting that the Wisconsin police say the Christian school shooter was a 15-year-old female student who opened fire in a study hall. The name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. After I saw the breaking news alert on the WBAP.com or BAP app today, I purposely did not mention that story to anybody I associated with today throughout the whole day in my day job, because I wanted to see if it would come up and how it would be portrayed. And nobody brought it up. It never came up. Nobody mentioned it to me. At the end of the day, I mentioned it to one woman and said, well, did you catch it? And she said, it's very sad. And I said, what's your take? And she said, you know what? We're a week outside of Christmas. It didn't happen in my backyard, my state, my city. It didn't affect me. I don't know anybody involved. It's sad, very sad, but, it doesn't impact me. And I that kind of caught me off guard. So I went searching across social media across North Texas to see what others are thinking. And a lot of thoughts and prayers, that whole thing. But I saw one response to thoughts and prayers where a guy said, take your thoughts and prayers and shove them where the sun don't shine. We don't need thoughts and prayers. Gun owners need background checks, mental health evaluations, and some gun control. You can buy a gun quicker than you can be seen by a doctor in an ER. And then another comment that I saw was, it's the price of freedom is the occasional dead school children. And that comment just didn't sit well with me. But, is that person maybe insensitive and not so PC, but are they wrong? Are they right? What's your take? 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. Let's talk to Bill in Plano. Bill, thanks for listening. You're on the Chris Crock Show. I'm Westside Jeff. What's your opinion?
Thanks. Yeah, I think the guy that said that is just he's totally out of it. I mean, he's wrong on so many different levels. One is that gun control itself is going to stop this type of thing. It's not. It has to be something. I mean, that's part of it. The guy, the disturbed young man that murdered the insurance executive. I have some information that he made a gun in a 3D printer. I mean, you can't, if young people can do that, gun control itself. I mean, it's good to have some background checks and things like that. But the other thing is, I think we just have to rethink grade schools. And it used to be the little school in the neighborhood, and everybody had their own little grade school. The reason high schools are safer now is I moved into closer to the city, and at one point, and I tried to get in to vote, and I had to show my ID. I went through a scanner. They searched my briefcase. I mean, it was like getting into a federal courthouse. I mean, and that's the way it should be. But if there should be other things like larger facilities that can be protected, and other things should be more concentration on mental health. The parents should be alerted, and the parents parenting should be more concerned about mental health. And obviously the parents should pick up on things. There's a lot of things we can do. Gun control itself isn't going to do it. And the idea that we're going to sacrifice our children that's totally crazy. That's nuts. People that think like that have absolutely no clue about what parents are going to go through. Every single member of our society is damaged, is wounded when one child is killed. So it's totally so ridiculous. And
it's a harsh comment. It's a harsh comment. Bill from Plano, thanks for calling, and I appreciate your opinion. Thank you for weighing in on that. I appreciate it. Let's talk to Sandra from Fort Worth. Sandra from Fort Worth, thanks for calling. You're on with Jeff.
Those comments that you read just absolutely mortify me. They're not acceptable at all.
They should.
I really believe that we have begun a long time ago. We treat symptoms rather than causes. And I learn in my Bible it says, "For God hath given us a spirit of fear, not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind." And the symptom of godlessness is mental instability. God is the one who, and his ways are what give us stability. And we've gotten so far from that we just have unstable people. Churches have also begun to and they have for quite some time, instead of having pastoral counseling if somebody has a problem, they send them to a psychologist. Well, psychology is about behavior modification. It may or may not last. It's kind of like New Year's resolutions. But if you're born again as a Christian, your life is transformed. It's about transformation and regeneration. My life was changed. I was 30 years old before it was. But we are biblically illiterate people. Most of the churches have the kind of music that is nothing but entertainment for young people. Now the older people are into it. They've gotten into it. And we aren't giving anything within our churches. Religion isn't the answer, but God is. We have to return to God. We have to do an inventory of how our churches are stacking up, what the plumb line is with the Bible, because it's not being given. I'm 77. None of this stuff existed when I was growing up, but there was a reverence for God.
Sandra from Fort Worth, thank you for calling. I got to get to more callers. Appreciate your call, and thank you for your comments on that. Let's talk to Ann from Rockwall. Ann, you got Westside Jeff on.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for calling. What's your thought?
My thoughts are gun control isn't the answer. When background checks aren't the answer, how that 15-year-old isn't old enough to buy a gun. So how is a extensive background check or gun, or those types of things going to help? It's not. And of the other shooters that you see that are of age, most of them would have passed background checks. That's what people don't take into consideration when Biden starts screaming, "Oh, we need gun control." Well, like the guy here in Uvalde? Yeah. He would have passed that background check. He didn't have a criminal record or anything like that. So that, that wasn't going to solve anything. I think the biggest problem is we have too many soft targets. There's a reason people don't go into police stations and start shooting them up. Like the guy Greg, one of your earlier callers mentioned, he's like, they're looking for their 15 minutes. That's exactly what's happening. They are looking for their 15 minutes. And if you take those 15 minutes away from them, they're not going there. They're going places where, like movie theaters, where there's no guns, and all these places that have signs. Like, if you want to solve the school shooting problem, it's going to cost you like $5. Put a sign up that says, "We have guns here," and no one's going to go in that school and shoot it up.
Ann, thank you for calling. I appreciate your opinion on that. I love your comment. We have too many soft targets. There's a reason why bad people don't go into police stations and start shooting them up. That's a good comment. Thank you very much. Good thoughts on that. Your thoughts, 800-288-9227. I see a couple folks on hold. We'll get to you. I got to hit bottom of the hour news on the other side of that. We'll take your calls. If you'd like to weigh in, I still have a couple, two open phone lines. My name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. And we're talking about the shooting today in Wisconsin and some of the controversial comments I saw. The most controversial ones I saw across social media tonight was a person in North Texas that said, "Hey, it's the price of freedom and occasional dead school children." That's pretty harsh. That's pretty controversial. But nobody today mentioned the school shooting to me until I did at the end of the day. Pretty telling. Very telling. 800-288-9227. Got to hit Bob in the Hour News with Sean Allen and John Ingham. On the other side of that, we'll continue the conversation with your thoughts. I'm Westside Jeff, sitting in for Chris Crock on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Talking about the news of the day, and that is a school shooting in the Madison, Wisconsin area. It was in a Christian school, and the death toll right now is one student, a teacher, and then the suspected shooter. The latest on suspected shooter just came out. It's been reported by AP and a couple other outlets that Wisconsin police say that the Christian school shooter was a 15-year-old female student who openly fired in study hall. I've seen some other reports that said that shooter died from a self-inflicted wound. Don't have the details on that. The rest of the story will come out. I think we're going to find out as we do a lot of tragedies like this over time. The Monday morning quarterback, in essence, will identify that several folks will say at some point in time they saw, now that they look back, they saw warning signs, but they didn't think it was that bad and they did nothing about it. That tends to be the case in horrific events like this. My name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. We're talking about that story, and I want to get to calls in 60 seconds. But first, a couple other news stories of the day today. Right before I went on the air, a New York judge ruled late today that Donald Trump's hush money conviction case this year remains valid, rejecting the arguments from President-elect that it should be dismissed on immunity grounds. So the judge will not toss Trump's New York hush money conviction case after all. Also late today, Trump at Mar-a-Lago did a press conference that was 70 minutes free for all with reporters. And as part of that, Trump and SoftBank Group CEO, I can't pronounce the guy's first name, but his last name is Son, jointly announced today or late tonight that SoftBank plans to invest at least $100 billion in U.S. projects over the next 4 years as the president-elect seeks to project enthusiasm over his return to power. One of the reasons that Trump got reelected, obviously, is this election was based off of kitchen table politics, what's going on my kitchen table and your kitchen table. And certainly Trump wants to do what he can to move that needle, hence the announcement late today. He covered a wide-ranging amount of events, including drones, which we'll talk about later, but he contends that the government knows what's going on. The Biden administration won't talk about it. And that makes sense to me. It's just common sense. And that's what I offer you. I offer you common sense opinion on current events. My name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. Common sense is missing today. And my common sense in what happened in Wisconsin today is it's a horrific event. It's terrible. I'm not so sure. In my lifetime, school shootings have schools used to once be a kind of an off-base, off-target type place for horrific events, and it no longer is. Schools and churches are now in play when it comes to that, and it's very, very unfortunate. I'm not so sure you can solve it. All you can do is, as Ann from Rockwell called and said a little while ago, is too many soft targets. And to Ann's point, I don't know you can eliminate those shootings like that, but you certainly can do things to make it harder for those events to occur. And that's what I would always recommend. See something, say something, and do what you can to make it as much of a hardened area as you can. That's my opinion. Jeff is the name, Westside Jeff. Love to hear your comment at 800-288-9227, like Frank from Corsicana. Frank, thanks for calling. You're on with Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. I worked in mental health institutions. I've been as a psychiatric nurse. I'm retired military, and I've experienced and seen this and dealt much with this. And we see that gun control, this woke ideology, even mental illness, and all these problems that are going on, and it's like the government throws the goodness away and doesn't even look into the mental illness issue, closing all the mental health institutions, in my day. But why do we trust the government to teach our kids? And moreover, why do we leave out the most important factor of the Bible, Jesus Christ, and what the Bible teaches? It is not to have that personal relationship with Jesus and God. Is it not the entrance that heaven is predicated on? Yes, it is, I bet. Read Revelation. Revelation, Jesus said, I'll turn to them plainly and say to them, get thee hence, for I never, get this, knew you. Like the Who's song, who are you? Who are you? We don't teach that to our kids, and we don't teach that in the schools. And I bet this Christian school has a culpability and negligence with that factor.
Frank, thank you for calling. You're all fired up, and I'm glad that you are, because we need to be fired up. I appreciate your opinion on that. Thanks for calling in, Frank. Let's talk to Joe from Aledo. Joe, thanks for calling. You're on with Westside Jeff and the Chris Crock Show. What's your opinion?
Hey, thanks, Westside Jeff. I just think everybody needs to come together. Everybody needs to give a little. No one large change will solve this problem. It's gone on for too long. It's been a slow creep. And I just don't think you can fix it with one thing. You can't fix it with gun laws. You can't fix it just by hardening schools. It's going to take Hollywood, the video game industry, the news media, talk about it 24/7 every time it happens and make these shooters famous. All the movies glorify gun violence. We could tighten up loopholes and make, guns harder to get, or make gun owners more responsible. I just think, put God back in schools, more consequences for kids when they act out, before they get all the way to shooting up their classmate.
Joe, thanks for listening. I appreciate your opinion. I can't disagree with that. I agree. Joe, it's interesting you say that because a guy that helped put me into radio and promote me into radio, his name's Perry Fry. He's general manager of a radio station I worked for up in Ohio when I worked in Columbus. Once said to me, Jeff, you show me somebody that has a simple solution to a complex problem, and I'll show you somebody that doesn't understand the problem. And that's a great line because I think he's spot on. Dead on. Anybody says they have simple solutions, and when I look at it and see a complex problem, I use Perry's line because he's spot on with that. They don't understand the problem. I want to talk about something else I want to get into, and that is parking your car at the airport. Do you park it at the when you fly out of town? Do you leave your car at the airport? I would never park at the airport, and it's dangerous. It doesn't work, and especially right now, a lot of people fly out of town for the holidays. My recommendation is don't park at the airport. I would Uber in. I would get a ride there, back and forth. I would not leave my vehicle at the airport, and I'll tell you why in about 4 minutes. My name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff sitting in for Chris Crock tonight and the rest of the week here on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Give me 60 seconds and I'll tell you why you should not park at the airport when you fly out of town. A lot of folks fly out of town for the holidays, long holiday weekend, or for Christmas and go home to family. Same with New Year's. 60 seconds, I'll tell you why you should not do that and give you some details. Coming up top of the hour, got the news. We got Sean Allen and John Ingham in the newsroom with updated stories throughout the day in the news. A couple things going on in the news that they'll tell you about is Donald Trump did a press conference earlier today, along with SoftBank CEO, and unveiled a $100 billion investment in the U.S. During that announcement, Trump looked at the president's son, the president of CEO of SoftBank Group, and said, "How about you double it? Come on, would you make it $200 billion?" Trump asked. Son paused and said, "I will try to make it happen, Mr. President." So it's going to be interesting. Trump was elected on the whole thought of kitchen table politics, mine and yours. And today, he delivered a little bit on that. And I always say that the devil's in the details. Bottom line, devil's in the details. Words are big. It's easy to make promises up front. I say hold them accountable and make sure that they deliver on exactly what they said. Also today, judge in New York ruled that they won't toss out Trump's New York hush money conviction. The Team Trump had asked to overturn that with him moving into office. The judge would not do that. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. I mentioned a minute ago that if you're traveling out of town, whether it be for Christmas, the holidays, or business, don't park at the airport. And here's why. The Dallas-Fort Worth police have according to the report by the Dallas News, I saw this in the Dallas News, several people have been accused of working together to steal vehicles from DFW. The investigation's been running since February of 2023 with an affidavit claiming as many as 14 suspects have been identified. And police at DFW International Airport have said approximately 52 cars worth nearly $5 billion were stolen by organized crime group. 52 vehicles, $5 billion. And it's not just in Dallas. Jeff is my name, Westside Jeff. Born and raised up in Columbus, Ohio. And I keep in touch with a lot of folks in Columbus, my own home turf. And that's happening at Port Columbus also. and I see it's happening across the country in some other airports. As the story goes, this is since February 2023. Affidavit claiming as many as 14 suspects have been identified. It's thought that a group which is based in the Houston area has also stolen cars from airports in New Mexico, Nevada, and Utah. Now, this investigation has gained momentum in October when 3 men were arrested thanks to the use of license plate reader. This is the interesting part of the story that I saw in the Dallas News. A license plate reader identified a vehicle of question that they were kind of looking for. It alerted police of a suspected vehicle entering the airport area, the license plate reader. Police were able to set up a traffic stop for that vehicle, discovering it had to have an unsecured temporary license plate. So that gave them probable cause to pull them over. There were 3 occupants identified in the vehicle, a guy named Jose Antonio Perez Rodriguez, 29 years old, one called guy Yanir Pinelo Toro, 30 years old, and Yoel Hernandez Frometa, 38 years old. 3 suspects. Police searched the vehicle and found, and this ought to scare the bejesus out of you, police found multiple tools commonly used for breaking into cars, including a device that's used to reprogram car key fobs. 14 key fobs were also discovered in that vehicle. Now, the further investigation revealed that one of the guys, Hernandez Fermetto, had been present at the same DFW terminals where at least 8 vehicles were stolen between July 23 and October 24. He was also photographed in more than one of the stolen vehicles. Now, in July, both Hernandez Fermetto and Pinelo Toro were arrested in Salt Lake City and faced charges of possession of a stolen vehicle and evading arrest there. They were found with several different sets of car keys and fobs in the same key fob reprogramming tool discovered at DFW. This is organized crime. It's going on at DFW. It's going on at many other airports across the country. In August, police in Harris County found Perez Rodriguez in possession of a car with a switched VIN in it, VIN number. Each of the 3 men was booked in Tarrant County Jail and now face charges of engaging in organized crime activity. And just because those 3 guys are behind bars doesn't mean that's over, because according to law enforcement across the country, there are a couple dozen more folks out there involved in these things. Now, this I can tell you from my background of being from Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, talked to someone up there I saw on social media. A woman had her brand new Jeep stolen out of the Port Columbus airport. Exact same scenario. There are cameras everywhere, as you might imagine, around airports, and the cameras around airports record everything. Now, back in Ohio, where I'm from, the local police authorities grabbed the video camera, the rolling tape, and identified. They couldn't identify anything. In many cases, the video cameras weren't even working. And I find that odd that in this day and era, with the scrutiny on travel and airports and airport security, that there's an organized crime ring stealing cars out of parking garages of airports. When you take a device that can reprogram key fobs and you have multiple key fobs, hell, all you got to do is go buy it on the market as some old key fobs, right? Old key fobs, and then a reprogramming tool, and you go up and down the aisle until you find you find a vehicle it works on. You get in it and you drive off in it as if you own it. Nobody catch you. No big deal. So when you find 50-some vehicles stolen from DFW Airport, totaling $5 million, that's a problem. That's why I wouldn't park in the airport. If you had experience in that, if you've seen that, if you know somebody like that, I'd love to hear your story to validate what I've been reading across Dallas and also across the country. 800-288-9227. I'd love to hear your story. Pentatonics is coming to the American Airlines Center on December 22nd. That's next week. You can get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. You can also text the word Christmas to 1-800-288-9227 for your chance to win tickets. That's Christmas. Text the word Christmas to 800-288-9227 for your chance to win Pentatonix tickets next Monday night, the 22nd, at American Airlines Center here in Dallas. Again, I would not be parking in an airport right now, whether it be DFW or Love or any other airport across the country. If I'm flying anywhere, which I'm not planning on flying anytime soon, but if I were, I'd be making sure I've got a ride to and from the airport, because there's a crime ring going on at airports that they've got key fobs and reprogrammable tools that they can reprogram it. They go up and down an aisle, keep clicking on the unlock and the buttons, identify a vehicle it works with, and once they do, the bad guy gets into it, drives off, steals the car. That's going on here at DFW, and it's also going on around the country. I would not be using airports to park in. I'd be doing a ride there. If you know somebody has done that, if that's happened, they've had vehicles stolen, I want to hear your story. I want to hear from that. I'd like to hear that story. 800-288-9227. 800-288-WBAP. Got a top of the hour news on the other side of it. We'll continue with calls and talk about Drone Gate also coming up next. My name's Jeff, Westside Jeff, on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.